An Illinois officer has been charged for repeatedly punching a 17-year-old. Can you believe it? What's up, all my fellow lunatics out there? You know me, I'm Rational Lunatic, and I want to thank iDrum2. He is from Mammoth, Mammoth, Illinois, and he said I'd be surprised if I came to his area about the corrupt cops and officials in that area. So I decided to look up cases in Illinois. I didn't find anything in Oak Mammoth that really caught my eye too much, but I did find a few within Illinois. So we're going to report on one of those right now. With that being said, you know what it is. It's not clickbait. It's true. It's blue. It's official corruption news, and we're bringing you this one right now. Now, be prepared. There is a video on this if you want to look it up. I don't recommend it just because it's violent, it's horrible, and it's just plain disgusting. And the fact that the police chief is backing up not only this officer but 2 or 3 other officers involved in this incident that held this teen down and beat him until his brain swelled. He had fractured, I believe, a fractured skull, a fractured pelvis, broken nose, and just really left this teen in a bad way. Now, it does say that the teen, it does show in the video actually, the teen ran from the cops, and apparently he was reaching for a bag, which they said they found a semi-automatic in, and I do know that they are allowed to use whatever force necessary to get a weapon away from a suspect. But if you look the video up, and as we read along here, you'll learn that this kid was already held down by 2 other officers. They were holding him to the ground. I don't see how he could keep reaching, but they claim he kept reaching for this bag. But this cop repeatedly just punches him. I don't condone what the teen did. You shouldn't run from the cops, for one. You shouldn't be carrying a semi-automatic on you unless you're, licensed to do so, or you have the registration, or, you're legally allowed to do so. It's not okay what the teen did, but the excessive force, which in my opinion was definitely excessive force, is just appalling in this situation. So anyway, if you don't know me, hit that like, subscribe button, get to know me. If you don't catch my full video on TikTok, definitely jump over to YouTube, because the full video will be on there, since TikTok only allows me 10 minutes and some of my videos go a little longer than that. Yeah, and with that being said, let's get into the story, shall we? This report is written coming from Fox 32 Chicago, read to you by yours truly. An Oaklawn cop was charged after video showed him and other officers repeatedly punching 17-year-old. And like I said, if you want to look the video up, it's online, it's easy to find, and it is pretty bad. Oaklawn, Illinois. An Oaklawn police officer is facing criminal charges after a video caught him and other officers repeatedly punching a 17-year-old boy during an arrest last summer, prompting outrage in the Arab American community. Officer Patrick O'Donnell was indicted Tuesday after a Cook County grand jury by a Cook County grand jury on counts of aggravated battery and official misconduct in connection with the July 27th arrest of Hadi Abachullah, according to a source with knowledge of the case. A public information officer for the Oaklawn Police Department declined to comment on the charges or say whether O'Donnell was still employed by the village, which, as far as I know, I read other reports on this, he was still employed. He was, I believe, on leave or put behind a desk, but he was still employed, and he is being backed up by other officers and his own police chief. Zaid Abdullah, an attorney for Abachullah, called news of the charges, quote, a move in the right direction, but unquote, but was disappointed that all three officers involved are not facing charges. As am I. I'm very disappointed that all three officers are not facing charges, because even if they're not the ones that are punching the teen, someone should have stopped this man. But let me know what you think in the comments. He said Abachullah and his family had not been contacted by anyone in the state's attorney's office about the charges. O'Donnell and the other two officers were filmed by a bystander holding Abachullah on the ground and punching him in the head and legs during the arrest. As the video went viral, Oaklawn Police Chief Daniel Vittorio defended his officers' actions, which he said was in line with their training. If they're trained to do that, which apparently they are, yeah, we need to have a real big type of police reform within their training. At a news conference where police showed dash cam video of the arrest, Vittorio said Abachullah continued reaching for a shoulder bag as he struggled with officers and didn't stop until an officer shocked him with a taser. Police said they recovered a loaded semi-automatic pistol from the bag, and the state's attorney's office charged Abachullah with gun possession. Police said the officers had stopped a car carrying Abachullah because they smelled marijuana coming from it. Videos show officers approaching a black car parked along a series of garages behind an apartment building and searching the driver. Abachullah gets out of the rear back seat, then runs away as an officer begins to search him. In a separate video released by Oaklawn, a police cruiser pulls up and its dashboard camera shows Abachullah being held on the ground by two officers. One officer is seen punching the teen's legs repeatedly. Another officer punches the teen in the face several times before a third officer runs up. The officers yell at Abachullah to put his hands behind his back as an officer punches at the teen's head. An officer then uses a taser on Abachullah, and the teen is cuffed. Abachullah spent 6 days in a hospital for fractures to his face, skull, and pelvis, as well as swelling of his brain, his attorney said. Now, I have seen cases of excessive force, and you hear the cops saying the whole time, stop resisting, put your hands behind your back, stop resisting, while they hit a suspect. And in some of those cases, yeah, the suspect is resisting and, they're using the force necessary. But in a lot of those cases, a lot of suspects aren't resisting. They're pretty much held down in a position where they really can't resist, but they're repeatedly being hit as the police yell, stop resisting, which I believe they do that because they're on video and they want to make it look like the suspect is, making their job harder on them or making it hard to put cuffs on the suspect, so that gives them the right to beat on the suspect. And I've seen so many cases like that where you can just tell all they're doing is beating on someone for their own, satisfaction, and it's just gross. It's simply just gross. The teen's family and the Council on American Islamic Relations, Chicago, have filed a civil rights lawsuit against the Oaklawn officers and the village. Abachullah's mother, Dina Natur, said her, quote, stomach was in knots, unquote, as she watched the video. Quote, you feel so helpless watching your child seeing 3 oversized men just beating him, which is exactly what was going on, unquote. Mohammed Sankari, lead organizer with the Arab American Action Network, which organized rallies for Abachullah after his arrest, said relations between the Arab American community and the village of Oak Lawn remain tense. Since Abachulla's arrest, Sankari said more community members have shared stories of profiling and harassment by officers in Oak Lawn, which he said showed, quote, a clear pattern of abuse of the community by police, unquote. The police chief's comments that the officer had done nothing wrong and the village's continued support of the officers, quote, sent a dangerous message, unquote, that the village would protect officers who committed misconduct on the job, he said. Quote, what happened is indicative of a severe problem with policing in this country, unquote. On Tuesday night, the Arab American Action Network sent a text message to supporters calling for the other two officers involved in the arrest to face charges as well. A spokeswoman for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office was not immediately available for comment. The village of Oak Lawn released the following statement Tuesday night. Quote, the village learned about Officer O'Donnell's indictment late this afternoon from media inquiries. We were not provided with any insights or information as to what was presented to the Cook County Grand Jury, and to our knowledge, neither was Officer O'Donnell. We also haven't yet received the results of the Illinois State Police's investigation, which we believed was ongoing. Given these circumstances, we are not commenting further until we learn more about these circumstances, other than to say we live in a society based on laws and fundamental fairness, and that applies to everyone, including our men and women in uniform, unquote. Now, that's the end of the news report thus far. I don't know, I understand being a police officer, can be a hectic job. I also understand, these are, police officers are only human. This is one reason I do reports like this, because I think people forget when they see a badge, they see authority, and they forget that these are just human beings with their own problems at home, their own things they're dealing with, and sometimes that can spill over into a job, into their job, which it shouldn't. Being police officer, you're supposed to be held to a higher standard. You're supposed to be able to separate your personal feelings, your personal bias, your whatever you got going on outside of work from work. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't be a police officer. And if you know you can't do that, like if you think you can and you find out you can't, you should resign. If you know you can't, you should never sign up. They take the job knowing the risks. They take the job knowing what their job entitles. They're there to protect and serve, not to enforce and beat. And it's just, I don't know, it makes me kind of sick, to be honest, to see this kind of this kind of crap going on, and it happens so much. This is one reason I only do reports on corrupt officials and corrupt cops, is because it's almost daily you'll find a different news story somewhere in the United States, and I'm sure across the country, or not across the world, but within, I'm an American citizen, within my country, this is almost a daily occurrence. Some reports I don't even report on because they're just too heinous, too much, even for me to want to read through. But yeah, I mean, if you just research corrupt cops, officers arrested, you'll find so many stories in so many areas constantly, and it's just appalling. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really do appreciate and love each and every one of you. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. And like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't know me, definitely get to know me, because I'd like to get to know you. Uh, Again, my whole video will be on YouTube if it's not all on TikTok. And until the next time, stay wild.